strong people-to-people ties, the United States is home to a large number of Americans with Korean heritage, and our countries share many cultural interests, including in music, television, and movies. This state visit will only strengthen or deepen U.S. ROK ties, and we are looking forward to celebrating the 70th anniversary of the U.S. ROK Alliance here at the White House. I also wanted to say a few words on the continued attacks that we are seeing from Republican officials on women's health care, like we saw earlier today. Republican state legislators in Florida proposed today a bill that would ban abortion before many women know if they are even pregnant, virtually eliminating a woman's right to make health care decisions about her own body. This ban would prevent not just the nearly 4 million Florida women of reproductive age from accessing abortion care after 6 weeks, but would also impact the nearly 15 million women of reproductive age who live in states across the South with abortion bans and would no longer be able to rely on Florida as an option to access care. We know that these bans are already having a devastating impact on women's health. In a case filed today in Texas, we unfortunately heard devastating firsthand accounts of women's lives almost lost after they were denied the health care they needed. Horrifying details of needless pain, all because of extreme efforts by Republican officials to take away a woman's ability to make her own health care decisions. Politicians like Governor DeSantis and Abbott espouse, quote, freedom for all, unquote, while directly attacking the freedom to make one's own health care decisions. Their rhetoric doesn't come without consequences here. The stories told today in 2023 in the United States of America are shameful and completely unacceptable. Like the overwhelming majority of Americans, the president and the vice president believe women should be able to make health care decisions with their own doctors and families, free from political interference, period. They are committed to protecting access to reproductive care and continuing to call on Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade in federal law. And finally, I want to say a few words today about the actual date of the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, which is today. As you all know, the president traveled to Selma on Sunday to commemorate this important day so that history can't be erased. He talked about how the continued fight for voting rights is integral to delivering economic justice and civil rights for Black Americans across the country. And today I wanted to highlight some of the historic gains the president has made on racial equity. 2 years into this administration, the president has done the following: brought Black unemployment to near historic low, provided almost $6 billion to HBCUs, lowered prescription drugs and energy costs for seniors, nominated more Black women to federal courts than any president before him, cut Black child poverty in half, and this administration is replacing lead pipes and delivering clean water across America. There's more work to be done, and we understand, the president understands, that we need to continue fighting to finish the job. With that, Colleen, you want to kick us off?
Sure, thank you. So the president said that his budget is going to extend Medicare solvency for, I think, 25 years. Can you walk us through the math a little bit on how that would work?
So I'm not going to dive into the math here. The president's going to lay out his budget, as you know, on Thursday, which will be very detailed and transparent, which is something that the president said he was going to do to make sure that the American people see for themselves how the president sees moving forward on the economy and doing it in a fiscally responsible way. As you know, you've heard me say many times, we welcome Republicans to do the same, House Republicans to put forth their budget, and also in a transparent way. So I'm not going to break it down into specifics here. Again, it'll be transparent, and you all will see it on Thursday. But I'll say more broadly, as it relates to Medicare and the announcement that we made today. As you know, Americans have been paying into this particular program since their first job. Some of them since they were teenagers. And elected officials, we believe, the president believes, has a duty to ensure this lifeline is available for generations to come. And so we're going to do this. We're going to make sure that rich pay their fair share, and by cutting big pharma subsidies, to lower costs for seniors and ensure Medicare's durability aren't big ask. And we believe that this is an obligation. This is an obligation that elected officials have. And again, you'll see more of the president's budget on Thursday.
On immigration, so we're hearing that this idea to detain families in detention, again, is one of a lot of policies that are currently under consideration as Title 42 restrictions are going to possibly end on May 11th. So I wondered if you can rule out family detention, or what can you say about the idea that, families may or may not be detained, migrant families may or may not be detained at the border?
So I'm not going to go in on rumors that are out there or conversations that are happening at this time. The department, as you know, as you just noted, Colleen, the Department of Homeland Security is certainly continuing to prepare for the eventual lift of Title 42. No decisions have been made, but we've been very clear on how we're looking to how the president wants to move forward, and he's been clear from the start, from the beginning of his administration, by putting forth a comprehensive immigration reform. And his approach has been making sure that we expand legal pathways for asylum seekers, limiting illegal immigration, addressing root causes, and also increasing border security. That's how the president has seen the process moving forward. That has been his approach. And what he wants to do is build an immigration system that is secure, that is orderly, and that is humane. And that's how we're going to move forward as we look towards the Title 42 eventually lifting. As you know, it's going to be as soon as May 11th, and that's going to be the president's focus. Go ahead, Mary.
I understand no decisions have been made, but the president, shortly after he came to office, put an end to this policy of detaining migrant families as a candidate. He said we should not be locking people up. You aren't ruling it out either. So why is this even being considered as a possible option now?
I'm just not going to comment on rumors that are out there. I'm not saying it's being considered. I'm not saying but I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying it is not. I'm saying that I'm not going to speak to rumors. There are rumors out there. Clearly, the Department of Homeland Security is working through ways on how to move forward once Title 42 is lifted. I'm just not going to get into speculations. I'm going to let them do their work. But I will say, and I just laid this out for Colleen, we have laid out over and over and over again, putting forth policies on how the president sees the process moving forward, right? He is going to use the tools that he has before him to make sure that we deal with an immigration system, or we build an immigration system that's, again, safe, orderly, and humane. And we've expanded legal pathways for immigration. We have tried to worked very hard to limit illegal immigration into this country by making sure that the border was secure. Again, this is something that Republicans could work with us on. He put forward an immigration policy, a comprehensive immigration policy on day one, but what we're seeing on the other side is political stunts. That's what they want to do. We're not looking to do political stunts. We're looking to deal with a real issue.
Imagine the president is looking for a way to tackle this issue that is safe, orderly, and humane. Is there ever an instance in which he thinks detaining migrant families can be safe, orderly, and humane?
I'm just not going to get into, again, that's diving into speculation that's out there, rumored conversations. What I can lay out to you is his approach, and we've been very clear on our approach these past 2 years.
Just one more. Is there a hope here that the threat of family detention may be a deterrent?
Look, this is a rumored conversation that I'm just not going to weigh in, even by answering that question. I'm just not going to weigh in into rumors that are out there. Go ahead.
So on the inflation question, Chair Powell has been testifying today, has sent some very, very strong signals to the market that rate increases could be coming. I realize you can't speak about the Fed, but what is your sense about the questions that they were getting about the role that corporate profits have played in fueling inflation, and whether that is an important factor to consider, and what would you say about just the January data? In terms of waiting to see perhaps if that data is confirmed.
So I just want to be very careful. You stated it, but I have to state it from here that the Fed is independent and we do not comment on their policy. So I want to be very mindful. The president believes that it's important to give the Fed the space needed to make decisions on monetary policy, and so we're going to do that. As it relates to inflation, our economists have been very clear. as you're asking me about data, they view the recent inflation data, or recent inflation more specifically, and jobs data as well, as evidence that the president's economic plan is working. We're seeing inflation starting to moderate. Inflation has come down than where it was almost a year ago. If you look at it more globally, and where you look where we were a year ago, we have seen inflation moderate. And so, and this is happening while the president has continued to grow the economy. You've heard us say this many times. We're an economy that grows from the bottom up, middle out. And so that's what we're focused on. We're focusing on what we can do as well to lower costs for American families. That's what you're going to see from the president's budget on March 9th. And that's what you're seeing from what we even announced today with Medicare. That is what's important to the president as well. As it relates to, Chair Powell being on the Hill doing the hearing, I'm just not going to comment on any specifics to that.
So your FCC nominee apparently has withdrawn their nomination. Can you confirm that that has happened, and what is your take on why?
So just a couple of things we want to say on that. We appreciate Gigi Son's candidacy for this important role. She would have brought tremendous intellect and experience, which is why the president nominated her in the first place. We also appreciate her dedication to public service, her talent, and her years of work as one of the nation's leading public advocates on behalf of American consumers and competition. With thanks to Chair Cantwell and others for supporting the work of this nomination. With respect to future candidates, though, I know many people were going to start asking me about that. We don't have any updates to share at this time, but again, we appreciate her candidacy and for this important role.
And then just one quick one on foreign policy. There's reports out today that intelligence believes that a Ukrainian organization was involved in the Nord Stream 2 sabotage. Can you tell us whether you think this was a subject that did Chancellor Schultz and President Biden discuss that when they met at the White House?
So what I can say is several of the European partners, Germany, Sweden, and Denmark, have opened investigations into what happened, and those investigations are currently ongoing. So I'm not going to get ahead of them from here. Would refer you to the respective European countries for comments on their own investigation. I'm just not going to go beyond the readout that we provided on Friday with the Chancellor's visit here.
Just circling back to immigration quickly, there's clearly a policy process underway right now where the agencies that are lead on this are considering options based on the lifting of Title 42. I guess my question is has the president been briefed on the possibility of reinstating migrant family detention policy?
I don't have any conversations to read out on the president being briefed specifically on family detention. What I can say is, again, these are rumored conversations, and as you just said, Phil, there is continued conversations, policy discussions occurring right now as we're speaking about the Department of Homeland Security, clearly, which is taking the lead on this, on how to move forward once Title 42 is lifted. We're going to let them do that process and do that work, but the president's approach...
All right, we want to take you over to the State Department right now, where spokesperson Ned Price is speaking to reporters. Let's listen.
Partners for their efforts to find these innocent victims, and the task forward is to ensure that justice is done. Next, earlier today, at the launch of the 2023 Joint Response Plan for the Rohingya humanitarian crisis in Bangladesh, the United States announced nearly $26 million in additional humanitarian assistance for Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh and the region, for those people in Burma affected by ongoing violence, and for the communities hosting refugees from Burma. With this new funding, our total assistance for those affected by the Rakhine State and Rohingya crisis has reached nearly $2.1 billion since August of 2017, when over 740,000 Rohingya were forced to flee to safety in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. This new funding allows our humanitarian partners to continue providing life-saving assistance to affected communities on both sides of the Burma-Bangladesh border, including nearly 980,000 Rohingya refugees hosted by Bangladesh, some 700